right now feels obvious. You check the time. You read this sentence. You feel like you're here now. It's such a natural idea that we rarely question it. But here's the strange part. In physics, there is no clear agreement on what now actually means. Not because scientists are confused, and not because time isn't real, but because when we look closely, the universe doesn't offer a single shared present that everyone can point to. Different observers, moving differently through space, can disagree about which events are happening at the same time. And according to physics, none of them are wrong. That doesn't make your experience of now unreal. It just means that the present may not be a universal feature of reality. So if physics can't agree on a single now, what exactly are we experiencing? When we say right now, the present feels solid because your entire life is organized around it. You wake up now. You make decisions now. You experience everything through a moving window we call the present moment. Clocks reinforce this feeling. They tick forward in steady steps, dividing time into neat slices that seem to exist for everyone at once. When two people look at a clock on the wall, they expect it to read the same time. When something happens, we assume everyone agrees on when it happened. This assumption runs deep. Language depends on it. So does responsibility. So does memory. The past feels fixed. The future feels open. And the present feels like a sharp boundary between the two. It's where things become real. Your brain is built to experience time this way. It integrates information from your senses, predicts what will happen next, and constantly updates a current moment to guide action. This works extremely well at human scales, at walking speeds, at everyday distances, with signals that arrive almost instantly. So we grow up believing that now is something the universe provides, a shared moment that everyone occupies together. And for most purposes, that belief is good enough. But notice what's doing the work here. It's not physics, it's coordination. It's the fact that information travels fast enough and differences are small enough that disagreements about timing never become noticeable. Our experience of a single common present depends on limits, limits of speed, limits of distance, limits of perception. As long as those limits hold, the present feels universal. The trouble begins when physics steps outside those limits. Because the moment we ask whether now must exist, for all observers, everywhere, the simple picture starts to crack. Here's where the idea of a shared present begins to break. In everyday life, we assume that events either happen at the same time or they don't. Two lightning strikes, two clocks ticking, two messages sent simultaneously. It feels objective, but physics tells a different story. According to relativity, whether two events happen at the same time depends on how you are moving, not on your opinion, not on your perspective in a psychological sense, on your physical motion. Imagine two observers moving relative to each other. They each have their own clocks. They each measure time correctly, and they each follow the same laws of physics. Yet they can disagree about which events are simultaneous, and both are right. This is not a measurement error. It's not a limitation of instruments. It's a feature of how time and space work together. There is no single timeline that the entire universe shares. No master clock ticking in the background. What counts as now for one observer can include events that another observer places in the past or future, and physics does not choose between them. It treats all observers equally. This is deeply unintuitive because our daily experience never forces us to confront this disagreement. At human speeds and distances, the differences are tiny, so tiny that they vanish into the noise of everyday life. But when velocities become large or distances become vast, the disagreement becomes unavoidable. The present splits, not into chaos, but into multiple equally valid versions. Each observer carries their own slice of time. This doesn't mean events stop happening. It doesn't mean reality becomes subjective. It means that happening now is not a universal label. The universe assigns. It's a local one. And once that's true, the idea of a single, shared present stops being a basic feature of reality. It becomes something that emerges only under special conditions. Let's make this concrete. Imagine two people in space. One is standing still relative to Earth. The other is moving past at a very high speed. They pass each other at a single moment. At that instant, they are side by side. They both say, "This is happening now." So far, nothing strange. But now imagine something else. Far away in space, two distant events occur. A light flashes on one planet, and a clock ticks on another. The stationary observer calculates that these two events happen at the same time. For them, they are part of the same now. The moving observer performs the same calculation, and they get a different answer. For them, one event happens first, and the other happens later, not because they're mistaken, not because their clock is broken, because motion changes how time and space fit together. Both observers are using valid clocks. Both are following the same physical laws. Both descriptions are equally correct. So which events are happening right now? Physics doesn't pick one. It allows both. This is the key point. The disagreement is not about reality itself. It's about how reality is sliced into moments. Each observer carries their own version of the present, and those versions don't have to line up. This feels unsettling because we want the universe to offer a single answer. We want now to be something objective, like distance or mass. But relativity tells us that now behaves more like direction. There is no single up in the universe. There is no single here. And there is no single now. This doesn't mean the present is fake. It means it's local. It exists relative to motion, not as a universal layer spread across all of space. From this perspective, the universe is not updating itself, one moment at a time. All events simply exist within a structure of space and time. We move through that structure, and our motion determines which events we group together and call the present. So the question shifts. The mystery is no longer, why does the present feel real? It becomes, why does it feel singular? When physics allows many, once you see that different observers can legitimately disagree about the present, something important becomes clear. Physics doesn't actually need the concept of now to describe how the universe works. Instead, it talks about events. An event is simple. Something happens at a location and at a time. Physics focuses on how events are related to one another, which events can influence which others, which signals can travel between them, and which cannot. This is where the idea of now quietly drops out. There is no equation that says, these events are happening right now. There are only relationships. Can light travel from this event to that one? Can one influence the other? Are they connected by a signal moving at or below the speed of light? These questions have clear answers. They don't depend on opinion or perception, and they don't require a universal present. From this point of view, the universe is not constantly updating, like a screen refreshing frame by frame. There is no global moment that sweeps across space, turning future events into present ones. Instead, there is a web of events linked by causal connections and constrained by the speed of information. Each observer traces a path through this web. Along that path, their brain groups nearby events together and labels them now. But that grouping is not something the universe enforces. It's something observers construct. This is why physics can make precise predictions without ever defining the present. Satellites correct for relativistic effects without asking what time it is, right now, everywhere. Experiments work without referencing a universal moment. The laws remain consistent because they don't depend on a shared present. They depend on structure. Space-time provides the structure. Events fill it. Observers move through it. The present emerges, where an observer's information arrives and is processed. It is real as an experience, but it is not a fundamental layer of reality. And once that distinction is clear, another shift happens. The question is no longer, does the present exist? It becomes, why does the experience of now feel so powerful? If physics doesn't require it, at this point, something important needs to be said. The fact that physics doesn't define a universal now does not mean your experience of the present is an illusion. It means it's doing a different job. Your sense of now is not meant to describe the structure of the universe. It's meant to help you function within it. Your brain continuously gathers information, filters it, and builds a moment that feels immediate. That moment is where decisions happen, where actions are taken, where awareness is focused. In other words, now is a biological solution, not a cosmological one. It exists because organisms need timing, not because the universe needs a clock. Physics, on the other hand, has no need for a privileged moment. It only cares about which events can affect which others and how information flows between them. From this perspective, your present moment is local. It belongs to you, to your motion, to your history, to the signals that have reached you so far. Someone else, moving differently, will construct a different present, not a less real one, just a different one. This is why the present feels so stable, even though physics doesn't define it globally, because stability comes from consistency, not universality. Your now is consistent along your path through space-time. It updates smoothly. It makes sense. But it is not something the entire universe shares with you. And once you see that, the present stops being a single moment. Everyone occupies together. It becomes a personal interface between a vast structure and a limited observer. So physics doesn't tell us that the present moment is fake. It tells us something subtler. It tells us that the universe does not provide a single shared now for everyone, everywhere. What it provides instead is a structure of events connected by the flow of information. Within that structure, each observer constructs a present based on what they can access. Your now is real because it's where information arrives for you. It's where perception, memory, and action meet. But it's not universal. Someone else, moving differently through space, inhabits a different present, just as valid, just as real to them. The universe doesn't move. From one moment to the next, we do. And as we move, we carry our own version of now with us. So here's the question to leave you with. If physics can't agree on a universal present, what do you think your experience of now actually represents? I'd love to hear how you think about it.